Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to review Season 3, Episode 19 of The Masked Singer. Because at the end of the day, it seems like the after shows also have a numbered count per every episode. So now we have to kind of go into just kind of instead of just going, okay, well, the last episode was the first episode of this season, so this should be episode 2, right? No, it's like episode 3, and now you have to like jumble through and figure out which episode so that way people don't go into the wrong thing and this and that. Anyways, I honestly think that the after shows should be their own separate thing instead of being otherwise tied to the Masked Singer. It's because it's ultimately for a person reviewing this is kind of just annoying. But anyways, let's get into the Masked Singer. Let's talk about this episode. Let's talk about how I felt about the performances, how I felt about all the people doing this thing, how I felt about the clues, how I felt about the judges, how I felt about the stage, how I felt about me watching this on Hulu and not actually watching it live so I can miss every single one of the commercials, which was great. I didn't watch the after show afterwards because who honestly really. I can't see that thing really going and being like. It's just a recap of the show. Like, ultimately, you can know a little bit more about the people working on the show or how people felt about certain things. But yeah, looking at it, I just don't really care about the after show. Sadly enough, it's just not a thing that is really just all that appealing. And I think other people will feel that way. Because I don't think ultimately, I think the after show after the first time it was gonna come on was gonna be great, but then anything after that is just gonna like ratings are just gonna drop afterwards. Anyways, so let's go on and talk about all the Masked Singers, talk about who I still think they are, and by and large, if I won or did not win, you'll see again who ultimately got eliminated by the end of this episode, so feel free to not get spoiled right away of who this person was. We're going to give you a double 5 time count, and then ultimately I will reveal who that person and or persons were. Because who knows, maybe there's going to be 2 people and 1 mask one day, and we're going to be utterly confused. But anyways, so let's go on to talk about the turtle. The turtle, ultimately the clue package, ultimately very much 100% basically kept talking about Backstreet Boys. Ultimately, the turtle had a diamond on his hand, ultimately saying that, man, diamonds, it must be the Backstreet Boys. And ultimately, you had a green sign that said back on it, so ultimately, it must be Backstreet. Maybe the back had something to do with greenbacks. Maybe the turtle likes to spend money. Maybe his favorite thing is money. Maybe when he talks about money, maybe he calls it greenbacks. Who knows? Also, the diamond maybe just because maybe the turtle likes to buy diamonds a lot. Maybe he owns a diamond company. You never know. You never know. But anyways, the turtle. To be brutally honest, this performance I believe was a Jason Derulo song. If I'm wrong about that, then I am. Um, I did enjoy this song, but looking at it, it didn't feel overall like an improvement of the week before. It just felt like the turtle was singing a song that felt safe. It felt like he was just singing to be safe because he ultimately knew he was going into the finale. And ultimately, he wanted to pull something bigger out in the finale. Which, yeah, that kind of sucks. That kind of sucks for a character that already thinks that they're safe. So they just kind of do a song that just kind of feels like this doesn't feel better than the previous episode. It just kind of feels like it's just why play it safe? Why not consistently like just do better and better and better every episode? But anyways, the turtle nonetheless did give, I guess, like sensual sexual vibes throughout his performance. So I guess like all the ladies were swooning about the turtle because like, ooh, he played a sexy song that we could get into and just be like, yeah, that turtle, woohoo. So ultimately I think that's where he was placating for, is for people vote for more for the turtle because ultimately he has that sex appeal, I guess. Um, but realistically, when looking at the turtle's clues, he also had a thing about Robin Thicke. I don't know what is such a thick like thing going on with him and Robin Thicke. Maybe this artist and Robin Thicke had worked together previously, or maybe had been produced by Robin Thicke. Because ultimately, I'm still assuming that this is Jesse McCartney. McCartney? Yeah. I'm still assuming that's who this person is. Because from previous episode clues, and because ultimately, I don't know about uh, what was going on in this episode. I really don't quite understand what the clues were to allude it was Jesse in this episode. But yeah, I guess it was kind of just throw people off the scent who would otherwise say, yeah, of course it has to be a Backstreet Boys guy now. It has to be, right? No, it's to throw everybody off the scent. And ultimately, Backstreet Boys, from what I remember, was the most like popular boy band group out there. In I guess history, like, yeah, I guess people could ultimately say it's like, well, I was much more in sync guy, or I was more Backstreet Boys, or whatever, whoever you were in that fight to the death of NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. Who maybe you liked the Backstreet band, the guys that otherwise sing the one song. I don't remember, but it was a long time ago. Maybe you were O Town or any other effing boy band. That there's like 30 different boy bands that all came out during like all at one time. It was like a crazy boy band phrase where they were like consistently churning these things out. Anyways, and there's also, I think, some band called like Five or something like that that also sang a song called Five or some. I don't know. I don't know. It was so long ago in a galaxy far, far away. But yes, I did listen to that music when it came out because without a doubt, I didn't have a musical personality when I was a kid. I just kind of clung to whoever anybody else was listening to. I didn't really find any kind of way of figuring out what my music was until way later on in life. Um, and then like I started listening to Linkin Park on the radio, and that's kind of where I kind of found my music. When Linkin Park was first starting out. Anyways, so Jesse McCartney as the turtle, I've locked that in. My guess is that I'm not going with anybody else. I'm not going with any of the Backstreet Boys, Nick Carter's, AJ McCready's, and Howie whatever's, and Brian's, and this and that. If I'm wrong, then I'm wrong. If it's a New Kids on the Block member, for sure, whatever. But ultimately, none of those other people reasonably have been in a zombie like show, or with the exclusion of maybe some of the Backstreet Boys or NSYNC guys have did Dead Seven, which they mentioned on a previous, like they did a sci-fi zombie movie, and hurrah for them. But I can't think of it being any of those people. So let's move on. The Rhino. The Rhino. Looking at the clue package, I ultimately just didn't quite understand any of the clue packages. I think, or much of the clue packages in this episode. And I think Rhino did fall into that. Um, Looking at it, like I would still guess that this would have been Tim McGraw, or Barry Zito, or Jason Aldean, or Keith Urban at this point, just to throw names out there. But then ultimately, when the Rhino busted out the Tim McGraw like song, Humble and Kind, I was like, okay, well, it's no longer Tim McGraw. I'm like, okay, well, it has to be somebody else then. It has to be my second guesses. So ultimately, I was not going with Tim McGraw when this person sang a Tim McGraw song. I was like, okay, well, it's either Barry Zito or Jason Aldean or Keith Urban. Let's say that to throw that out there. Um, but yeah, reasonably, I didn't quite really understand why there were so many times where they had to mention like an airplane in the clue package. Like, yeah, I know that this is an aviator like Rhino, but I didn't quite understand why there was so frequent amount of times where there was like an airplane present. It just like was a thing to just fill up time because there wasn't much of a clue for this character. I don't quite understand. Ken brought up some big bouts of knowledge into this episode. He mentioned that Barry Zito was actually on the show Jag, which I'm like, yeah, I had seen the show Jag from time to time, but I ultimately had never. I didn't know that Barry Zito was on that show. Um, Ultimately, I justifiably like looking at it. A lot of the clues were justifiable. The whole like nine thing, I was like, okay, what is nine about? Looking at it, one of the people kind of chimed in, and I think it was Nicole chimed in that she was saying that like nine was one of the album covers of Jason Aldean, I believe, and I was like, oh, okay, well maybe it is Jason Aldean. And looking at it, it did seem like all of the people actually guessing for all these people tonight were actually justifiably good answers for why these people were these people finally. Man, did they put a lot of work in and research into these things compared to other times when they're just like, Johnny Knoxville? Could it be Johnny Knoxville again? Could any male on this show be Johnny Knoxville? Too hilariously, when one of the guest judges guessed Johnny Knoxville, they like begrudgingly were like, "Yeah, we all guessed it was Johnny Knoxville," and that was so hilarious. But anyways, moving on. So we have the Night Dark Light Angel, Dance Angel. Yeah, Angel. I'm still never gonna get this name right, even though I know it's the Night Angel at this point. I'm now begrudgingly not gonna get the name of this character right now. I'm just not. Because ultimately we're almost done with the show now, so I can just keep calling her Angel if I really wanted to. So, Night Dark Light Angel, Blue Tangerine Angel, Angel, yeah, that one. She evidently had in her clue package a thing with a football and a football, because looking at it, soccer is football in a different, like, place. Ultimately, I didn't know what these effing clues were. I didn't understand them at all. I don't know how they relate to the person who I think that this is. Um, Looking at it, I'm still assuming that this person is Candy Burris from Real Housewives of Atlanta. Um, for this person to have a British accent the entire show, I could not go and say that it is the girl from Empire. I really just couldn't. I'm sure she could pull off a British accent and this and that, but looking at it, I could just not say that it could be the girl from Empire. So, The Night Dark Light Dance Angel, I'm still assuming, is Candy Burris. To be brutally honest, between these two performances, um, the Rhino, looking at it, if this exactly was the last song that he had done, bravo to him. Because looking at it, I'm going to mention who eventually got eliminated by the end of this episode. And if you watch the episode, you will know full well who that was. But looking at it, if this was the last song for Rhino to do, bravo to him. It's sad that it feels like that this person that is under this mask could only do country songs. Like, I was really looking at it and just being like, man, I wish that this person could have done like anything, like alternative or like a rock song or something to just kind of shake things up just a little bit. But ultimately, maybe this is all the only kind of stuff that he knows. So give him a break. At the end of the day, like this man, whenever he would sing a song, always sounded great. The only thing is, like, after so many country songs that this guy had sang, it just kind of gets to a thing where, yeah, it's just, you can figure it out. Who eventually, without a doubt, was the man who did the stuff with things. Consistently being the country man, you could consistently understand if he were to have been eliminated by the end of this episode. So, Nightlight Dark Dance Angel, her performance was a Lil Wayne song. Not any discouragement to Lil Wayne, but I could consistently complain that I just don't like. I just don't like. I probably do like the songs that which this person sings, but I just don't like the way she does them. There are some times where I do like things that she does, but there are much more so other times where I just like it feels either like nails on a chalkboard or it just doesn't sound that good. Or I'm just like, okay, like sometimes I feel like some of the contestants need to pick a real overall like memorable song that people could either sing to or that everybody knows. And I mean everybody. I think when you get like songs like Maneater from Hall and Oates, um or you get the Pitbull song that the Frog sang, this and that, like there are a lot of memorable songs that ultimately, looking at it, a lot of people know. But when you kind of go into these polls of just kind of like, okay, these don't feel like strong enough songs to kind of get you through, but luckily you've just been lucky enough to just, with your voice, kind of blow people away. But anyways, yeah, like there's nothing against the Night Angel. I'm just not a fan. I'm just not a fan, bizarrely. But and it was very odd that like the Night Angel was bizarrely asking for like all the female votes, and I was like, that is so weird. I'm like you really should not have gone that way. You really should not have gone that way. Um, I don't think that that is quite right to all of a sudden like ask for ask for female votes and to be like the female that wins this, because that could rub people the wrong way. But anyways, that's just the way that Night Angel did this show. In looking at it, that seems to be a lot of times where like looking at it like female empowerment, which is great. I love that. I love that she was just like, hey, like there has to be the first female mass singer to win this show, which I'm like ultimately would go back. I'm like, Yeah, like there were like some really great singers that sadly didn't make it all the way to the finale. Um I think Rumor Willis, honestly, with her being the tiger in the first season, kind of felt like she was robbed. Like I honestly think that she could have won the entire show. Um, like I honestly think that there were some people that honestly that were female and probably could have won the show, but just were kind of beat out by um different kinds of music and stuff like that. Because ultimately, there's only so many people that are going to play certain kind of songs for some reasons. Anyways, Night Dark Light, Spanglish Angel, Night Angel, Night Angel. At the end of the day, I would just say hip hop hooray for this character still getting into the next episode. Um, it'll be interesting to see what she pulls out compared to the other two people. Um, because ultimately, I think everybody will be watching her and see what she delivers per performance compared to the turtle and the frog, because ultimately they have been consistently good, or they have always just kind of had this kind of very um, high hill to climb on for anybody else. So let's move on. Candy Burris is who I thought the Night Angel was, so that's who I'm kind of sticking with. So let's get to the last but least. And I think sadly there is a reason why I'm saving this person for last. Sadly enough, because the frog, unfortunately, was the person who ultimately at the end of this episode was really good. God, man, just having the frog do hip hop hooray. God, that was like I really enjoy that the frog I really enjoy that the frog gives us very much old school rap. Because ultimately they could have gone a number of different kinds of like, yeah, let's do the more current stuff, and yeah, no. I honestly think the frog giving us hip hop array. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is a fun song. Um, it'll be interesting what he brings to the finale. It'll be interesting to see like what other rap song, which I'm sure that's what he's going to do, is ultimately going to be presented into the finale. I just don't know if he has something. I just don't know if he quite has something that is really going to. Like, he really needs to pull out, I mean, all of the stops. Because I just don't know if there is a rap song that could really compete with people who can outsing him. I'm very concerned for the frog. I am very concerned. Um, learning full well that within the clue package, I didn't really quite know anything within that clue package of this person to kind of make me figure out who this person was more. Um, yeah, so when hearing hip hop parade, and like seeing the mom like kind of pendant, I don't know exactly what that alluded to. Maybe that the person who I think it is, Bow Wow, maybe their mom passed away, or maybe their mom inspired them to be a musician, or maybe, like Robin Thicke said, maybe it's upside down wow. Who knows? Maybe this is a person that is known for being a World of Warcraft person. No. Um, but yeah, so anyways, maybe one of Bow Wow's albums was called Mom. I don't know. But you know what? Bow Wow is who I'm consistently going with for the frog. I think all the past clues kind of allude that it is still Bow Wow. And you know what? I can't think of anybody else who it would be at this point. So let's let you know of who all went home, with one being that person being who went home. Who went home, as people are getting seizures right now. The rhino ended up going home tonight. Sadly enough, it wasn't actually an honestly and truly a surprise, because ultimately, like, I love country music. There's nothing wrong with country music. I just feel like when you're consistently doing country music, I just think that after a while, uh, like that's why I think like a star like Carrie Underwood is so popular than she is, because yeah, she does country, but then she kind of mixes it up a little bit from time to time. But yeah, so looking at it, the rhino had gone home, and ultimately I'm gonna let you know who that was. So yeah, we're gonna get a double five time count, and then after that amount of time, you're gonna know who that was, who it was. But looking at it in these episodes, it seems like more and more the clues are honestly kind of irrelevant. Um, a lot of the times, I feel I have to go into the clue packages, because ultimately I can kind of like it'll sound like I actually watched the show, which I did. Um, because I saw it not live, but I saw it after the fact on Hulu. Um, but yeah, ultimately I don't know, like the clue packages are just, I think at this point they're too much trying to throw people off rather than justifiably giving you actual clues that make much more sense. Um, to make people forcibly think that it's somebody that they're not. If people eventually do figure out the clues, then ultimately, like that's when they try to be throwing a big wrench in there to make people think otherwise. So ultimately, my final guesses for the rhino, because I guess if I have to final guess like the judges do, I ultimately was thinking that it was still Barry Zito, Jason Aldean, and I don't even give a crap about Keith Urban. I like recently I just threw that guess in there just because I didn't think it was Tim McGraw. So I was either really going with either Barry Zito at this point or Jason Aldean. But Jason Aldean, I've barely heard any of his music ever in my life, so I could not really like. Ultimately, I just kind of threw Jason Aldean in there because it sounded like a good answer. And as far as country goes, like Jason Aldean is a fairly high person of country, and I really didn't think it was Trace Adkins, because Trace Adkins sounds too deep in tone. So I think it now is about that time to give you a double five time count, and after that amount of time, we are going to go into who this was. So we're going to tell you who this was right now. Barry Zito, World Series champion pitcher. Or if by talking to Ken, the Jag guy who played on the Jag, who did Jag. He was the Jaggedy Jag. Jaggedy Jag Jag. So we ultimately know that Barry Zito had child, and good for him. World Series championship pitcher from the San Francisco Giants. Or I'm assuming he's mostly known for being a World Series pitcher from the Giants, San Francisco. I don't know if they. I believe the San Francisco did won a World Series at some point. Correct. Um, I would assume. Ultimately, yeah, Barry Zito. Yeah. Recently I had heard Barry Zito play or do some musical arrangements prior to this entire show. So kind of matching both together, like it was justifiably like, well, yeah, I can see how it being like Barry Zito. Funny enough, I had just seen like Keira Knightley on YouTube doing some like music as well. Weirdly enough. So I guess at any time I could have thought if the kitty was Keira Knightley, I could have looked at some of the YouTube stuff of Keira Knightley singing, I guess. But Barry Zito ultimately does this thing called cement that I had done this guess called one. Sadly enough, we have to go through and ultimately bizarrely had mentioned that one, Barry Zito was a person that I'd gotten the guess like originally off of this thing called the internet. Because ultimately, I had an entire episode kind of dedicated to internet guesses, or kind of some things that I kind of brought to the forefront that ultimately kind of cemented via who I was told this might be, and justifiably I had to come up with justifiable answers and this and that. Barry Zito was kind of one of the internet guesses where I ultimately was just like, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna go and listen to see if Barry Zito had sung at some point, and he did on some talk show. So I'm like, okay, yeah, clearly, yeah, sounds just like him. So ultimately, that's kind of what I went on for the longest time. But I can't help but say that I am still correct about this one because I've consistently gone with this answer. I could have wavered, I could have shavered, I could have gave her a different guess. Ultimately, I'd been going for Tim McGraw and Barry Zito for this entire time. And a lot of the times, once I kind of gave up on Tim McGraw, sadly, which was on this episode, I basically was like, well, I guess it has to be Barry Zito now. So, Barry Zito. Another win on the belt of victory at the end of the day. If I still would have guessed this incorrectly, I still would have a pretty good guessing season. So ultimately, we're still on that. We're still going on that. I'm still, ultimately, I think the last three I have it narrowed down to the exact science of who these people are. So, winner, winner, chicken dinner. Hurrah, hurrah, hip hop, hooray for me. So luckily, we can just enjoy the rest of this show for whatever it is. I'm assuming maybe next week should probably be the finale at this point. Cause yeah, it should be like a probably a 2 hour finale probably because I can't see them just eliminating one person and then them just doing an entire episode of two people singing. No, I think there has to be a finale now. So next week has to probably be like a 2 hour finale where they have to milk this thing out and just milk it out for all it's worth. But anything, yeah, man, kind of Barry Zito, I think really, even though I heard him prior, like he still kind of really did blow us away on this season. So great for Barry. Um, like I have heard his name quite frequently through baseball. I've quite frequently heard his name through this show being guessed by people. And so, yeah, good for Barry Zito. But you know what? I am going to go and do a seasonal wrap up of this entire thing. So, if you guys don't want to know who all got unmasked on the prior episodes, it's about that time to rhyme and say that we're going to do a whole entire seasonal recap right now. So, Jackie. Yeah. Jackie. If you guys know Jackie from the America's Got Talent, I'm probably gonna butcher her last name, so I'm not even gonna try. Yeah, the girl from America's Got Talent had been unmasked as the kitty last week. Ultimately kind of putting more feathers into her cap if she wasn't really had enough feathers on the show regardless. Yeah, we kind of have gone to the point now where we only have three other people left. Three other people left. I've guessed everybody. I've guessed them good, but it'll be interesting to see when eventually we'll get to the next season. Concerning, I don't know if we're gonna be able to go and do a Mass Singer show without an audience. I don't know how they're gonna do that. If this Corona Kerblona thing still goes on, the CV thing still goes on. Um, yeah, reasonably, I don't know when they're gonna be able to pick up again and do this show because a lot of show was pre-recorded. More than likely, we might have to do some kind of voting system if there's no audience. Um, it might just have to be like a God, what is it? Like a America's Got Talent where we have to like vote in. That might have to be the way that this just show has to go for the next season until we can eventually it ultimately kind of can be released into the world that people can still do this show, or maybe they might have still an audience but it might be a limited number of people to still be quarantined capable of still doing a show. So, winner, winner, chicken dinner, Nine Angel, Frog, Turtle. At the end of the day, who do you think is going to win? I guess maybe next week will be the finale. I'm not sure. If it isn't, then it should be. But if it isn't, then that's weird. That's a little strange. Um, I'm a little baffled by that. Why they just can't end the show? Because I think that's what they should do. But if anyways, yeah, finale probably next week. So ultimately, I'm still hoping that the turtle at the end of the season does win. But looking at it, I still have like I've probably much more warmed up to the frog really. So if the frog or the turtle at the end of the day does win, I will be happy with that resolve. Looking at it, Night Angel, she sings okay, but I just don't quite know if the comment about female votes is gonna like win over anybody in her favor for next week. I don't think that that was the right thing to do. I don't know. Yeah, again, I love female empowerment as much as the next person. But yeah, it's kind of weird to all of a sudden be doing that kind of stuff on the show. Not to get political or whatever. I just I don't know. I like I don't know. Like that's kind of going in here and kind of like politicking for you to win and I just don't know. I think that kind of sadly uh I think a lot of people will remember that much more so than how she's ever sang in this season. Kind of really politicking that she should win regardless because she's a female and that doesn't seem right. Um like ultimately, yeah, like all the other women on this show, they they got to where they were because they were freaking amazing. Um, like again, I would have thought that the Tiger would have probably won this entire show. Not White Tiger. No, no. I'm talking about Ruber Wilson from the first season. I think she should have been the one who honestly won the first season. But surefire enough, I do ultimately enjoy who won the first season. I do ultimately enjoy each season altogether of who eventually got to where they were. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I think if the frog is Bow Wow, if Bow Wow doesn't win, he will be perfectly fine if he does not win. Looking at it, the Night Angel, Candy Burst, will probably be 100% fine after this if she does not win. Like, I ultimately am assuming she's gonna land on some talk show somewhere. She'll probably be doing some kind of reality competition show or Survivor celebrity or Apprentice celebrity or some other show she'll probably land because of being on this show. I'm sure she will be completely and utterly fine. And otherwise, I think she'll probably also get a music contract if she hasn't already. But I honestly think that the turtle honestly needs to win this show. Jesse McCarthy, if I think that this is that person, I honestly, or reasonably, if it isn't, maybe it's a Backstreet Boy, maybe it's a new Kids on the Block guy. That person, I think, needs to win this show more than either one of these other two people. So if I'm going to politic my way into saying who should win this show, I think it should be the turtle. I just think it should be the turtle. But looking at it, God, is the frog good? Still, the frog is just so good. He's always been consistent. So at the end of the day, I would politic my way to say that the turtle could ultimately win, just because I think it's whoever this person is. If it's not who I think it is, I think is the person that needs this the most. Because ultimately, all these other two stars will be fine regardless. They'll still be doing what they're doing. They'll still be successful. This and that. So, but again, I'm also going to politic my way and say that maybe the frog should win. Maybe the Night Angel should win because female empowerment. Let's throw that in there because I just feel like I'm being sexist if I don't throw that in there as well. But I'm not trying to be. It's just she hasn't always been good. She hasn't always been the best singer. She hasn't, there's nails on chalkboard episodes that if you want to listen through the entire performance of this person, she's not always been good. If anything, I've been surprised that she has honestly been on this show for this long. Again, not to take anything away from this artist. There's sometimes where she has really good songs, but not always. The frog. Yeah. The turtle. Definitely. But yeah, and I'm ultimately not trying to attack this person for looking at genderal numbers. I'm happy that, because I don't think any other person has done this. Maybe considering maybe they assume that there's more female viewers than male viewers on this. I don't know. There's nothing wrong with reminding people that a female hasn't won this show. But I just don't think it should be this season. I just don't think it should. Next season, they better have some powerhouse women. Because, good God, there needs to be a woman that, there's been too many men in the finales. There needs to be more women. There needs to be really good women, that can definitely sing per next season. Because I feel that is consistently forgotten about. And I think without a doubt, there needs to be more women on the show that can definitely sing. I would love to have a real powerhouse women on here, maybe a Christina Aguilera, if she wants to even try to do something like this, which I doubt she will. Maybe Carrie Underwood would honestly be a fun thing. And man, if Carrie Underwood would be unmasked during this season, people would blow their minds. People would just be like, oh my God, that's Carrie Underwood. This is amazing. And this and that. Yeah, if it was even people like Jessica Simpson or Britney Spears, or people would blow their minds. But in time, I just think that there needs to be better female singers on this show or just more of them. So we can definitely have a female win a season. So for that reason and that reason alone, I'm going to get out of here. Goodbye, everybody. Bye, everybody.